Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshop. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna. Before we get started today, we got to check on my assistant who is working hard down here on the floor. There's Molly. She's resting after we had our walk this morning, so she's kind of pooped out. I don't have anything. How you doing this morning, Molly? Yeah, oh, it's my good girl. You be sure to stay alert. Make sure nobody comes in here. The big guard dog. All right, we're going to work. All righty. Well, today is part 4, I think, of the sitting room cabinet. We've got the upper one, face frame, everything is installed, and the lower one, we got it built. So now we have to concentrate on the doors and the drawers. So today we're going to talk mostly about the doors, although we're going to make the drawer fronts. And before we start that, let me talk a little bit about the differences in what you can do different with doors and drawers. If we're looking down at the cabinet, this is the cross section, and it would be going this way as the cabinet. And we can have a door that swings closed, and it could be flush, right? It's even with the front. And the same with drawers, except that it would go straight out. So that's flush. That's one way of doing the doors or drawers. This applies to both the drawers and so the other way is what they call an overlay. So the door or drawer would be like this, in front of the cabinet. So the cabinet's going here, and it covers up. And this overlay is this area right in here is the overlay. And it's the same for drawers. You know, you would have the door swing out or the drawer go straight out, whichever. And that's the way that we have to match what's there, and that's the way they have an overlay, and they have a 1/2 inch overlay. So that has to equal 1/2 inch on the doors. Because the drawers are so narrow, I'm only going to use a 1/4 inch on the sides. And I think I may make the bottom flush so that it makes the drawers look smaller height-wise. But anyway, I'll play with that. But there's also another way of doing a third way of doing the drawers or doors. Again, if we've got our cabinet here, it's called a partial overlay. Is that the door or the drawer has a notch in it, and it's only a partial overlay. You see the full overlay is pretty common with kitchen cabinets, and bathroom cabinets, that kind of thing. Furniture tends to be either this partial overlay or flush. I mean, there are exceptions to everything, but that's kind of the rule of thumb in there. So after this is over, go around to your kitchen and see if they have the full overlay, the partial overlay, or flush. Right? You got the 3 options. So kind of look around and then look at some furniture and see which overlay they are, and then how much overlay there is. It's not uncommon on furniture, especially antiques, that the overlay is not the same all the way around. On the cabinets we're building, it's got that 1/2 inch overlay on this full. It's got the 1/2 inch overlay all the way around, top, bottom, and both sides. So we have to make the door 1 inch bigger in both directions than the opening. So a lot of antiques, they'll have the bottom of the drawer flush with the bottom of the opening, because it slides in the opening. They didn't have these metal rails. So you got the metal rails is what we're going to be using. This goes on the drawer, and this slides in, and it's going to hold it. So we have to make allowances for that. Usually they're on the sides of the drawer, so you have to make the drawer accordingly. So if you've got an opening like this for the drawer, and you're going to put a slide here, then the drawer's got to be this big. So what we're doing is the slides on the bottom, and we got the sides of the drawer here, but there's a little bit offset here between the bottom of the drawer and the top, and that's where this rail is going to fit. So it's going to be hidden, and the drawer will be almost the same size as the opening, the drawer box. That brings up the other things for the drawers. You can have, if it's flush, then it's just a box like that, and then the cabinet would be here. Look, we're looking down on it, so it's all flush. If it's partial, then you've got to have a little bit of things like that. It's not drawn real good. But for the full overlay, that gets to be a little hard. So what we're going to do, and what's common on kitchen cabinets in that, is they make a box. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make just a box, and then that's going to be flush with the cabinet, and then we're going to add a drawer front, and then we'll just screw those together. So that's what we're going to make today, is the drawer front and the two doors. And we'll make the boxes next session, and we'll do those with dovetails. So the next section will be about how to do dovetails, and it's easier than it's made out to be. Anyway, so let's talk about the specifics of our doors. This is the door we're going to match, and the way that's made, there's one piece here and one piece there. I know you can't see it, but I can see the seam right there. And then so you've got there's two stiles and the two rails, and then a panel. So it's like that, and then we got our two pieces. So, and it's got that decorative edge on the inside and on the outside. So what we do is we have to mill our stock so that it's flat, square, and cut to length and width, right? Just like before. And then we're going to use the router. On the router table, we're going to use, well, let me back up a little bit. We have to have, this is end grain here, and you can't just glue that to that board. It won't stay. So you can have a mortise, you can have a tendon that sticks out and a hole that it goes into. What they call, that's more for if you don't have an edge on that, or furniture where you're going to do something with that afterwards. For these kitchen cabinets, they use a tongue and groove, which means there's a so you've got this would be the rail going down, and so you'd have that slot all the way down. We're looking straight down at it, so this would be the cross section, and so that fits in there. And then that groove then can also be used for the panel, but we don't have a decorative edge. Well, they make router bits that do one or the other. Here's just a plain tongue and groove, but we don't have that decorative edge. So this one gives us, and if you can see that on there, this gives us the decorative edge and the tongue and groove in one shot. So this is a set. You use one for the tongue and one for the groove, and then this is for the panel. Now this is curved, and our panel's got, on the existing panel is flat, so we have to use a different bit for that. So we're going to use that on the router table. Our two styles, we'll cut a groove, we'll use that bit, and we'll cut the groove on these two surfaces here, and then these two guys here will get the same groove, same bit across this way, but then they'll have to have the tongue part cut on the ends. So, and we have to make allowances for that tongue when we figure out the length of this. So the door is going to be this wide, but minus the tongue. So we have to kind of allow for that. I'm also going to make this distance a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch bigger than it's supposed to be, so that when the door is all glued up, I can trim everything flush. So I make these a little wider here, and I make this a little wider, and just be able to trim it flush, and then when it's all glued up, we'll route the outside. But today we're going to concentrate on just making that panel. And the drawer fronts, all we're going to do is get them planed and square and cut the size. And when we route the outside of the door with the same, well, actually I take that back. It's more like the panel, big router bit for the panel. So we do that, the drawer fronts at the same time. So I'm going to get started on the planing, and there's no need for you guys to see that, but I do have a little bit of a challenge here. This is the board for the drawer fronts. I was going to get four out of the 5 fronts out of this, but this board is too wide for my joiner. The joiner is only 8 inches, and this is almost 10. So what we have to do, I can't just run this through the planer. The planer, it's got 2 rollers in front of the cutter that push down on the board, and this board's got a little bit of a twist in it. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got a twist. And so as it goes through the planer, it would just follow that twist. I would end up with a parallel board that's twisted. So what I have to do, I have to come up with a reference. So I'm going to use this board here. If you can see that, I'm just a flat board. I'm going to use that. This is going to go on the table of the planer. I'm going to put the board I'm trying to flatten on top, and I'm going to shim. See how that rocks? That's just that just won't work. So what I'll do is I'll take some double-sided tape and tape down in the center where it's rubbing, and then I use just a bunch of old business cards, and I'll stick them in different places till I get to the point where it doesn't rock anymore. See, so first I'm going to join those other ones. Then I get this flattened on here and secured with tape, double-sided tape underneath so it won't move. And I run one pass, get this side flat, then I'll take it off this board and I can flip it and do the other. So that's how I do wide boards up to my 13 inches of my planer. After that, I got to do it by hand. Okay, here we are at the router table, and we got everything cut to size. So these are the rails, the horizontal pieces, and they have to be routed on 3 sides, the ends and one side. I've marked what they have to be done. Now you start with the tendon part, which will be on the end grain of the rails. So we're going to do those first, and it's face down, and you see they're a little too narrow to hold straight against the fence, especially when you're trying to go over the bit. So we use a coping sled where that just fits in there like that, and I'll clamp it and we just go across. Then once all 4 of those are done on both ends, then we'll put in the other bit and do the sides that I marked in red. So here, let's get to work. We got it all routed. Here's what it looks like just on the inside. See, we've got our profile, and you can see on the end how that fits together. So it's just a matter of taking the one, we've got our tendon and our profile coped, and we just stick it right in there like that. It just fits tight. So now I got to do the panels. Now I haven't cut the panels to size because I needed to finish a door. So with the drawer dry fit like this, I'll take my tape measure and measure across what size the panel is. Now this slot is a 1/2 inch deep. So the panel would have to be 1 inch bigger than the opening, all right? But we have to have, this is a solid wood panel, and that panel, the grain is going this way, so this way it'd be okay, but in this, across this direction, it's going to change size with changes in humidity. So we've got to give it some room to move. So, but we don't want the panel to rattle around in there either if it's real loose. So we use these little balls. This is a brand. You can buy different kinds of them. This is called a space ball, and it's just a little ball like this. We'll put a couple on each side. See, and then you just push them all the way down like that, and so they sit in there. And allows the panel can smush them when it expands, and it'll keep the panel centered. But you have to allow for the space balls. So they want you to take off 5 30-seconds all the way around, which would be 5/16 per dimension. 5/16 in width and 5/16 on the top. So a little bit of math. You didn't realize how much math, especially fractions, you have to deal with when you're doing furniture making, cabinet making. It's a lot easier in metric, but since we don't teach metric and I'm too old to be starting over, so we got to measure the opening. We have to add 1 inch, right, 1/2 inch on each side. And then we have to subtract 5/16 from that. So that ends up with our final dimension for the panel. The panel's already been, here are the two panels. I just have to cut that in half. So they've already been thicknessed. They're slightly less than the 3/4 frame, and so we'll have to cut it to width and length, and then we'll have to route the shape. See, it's got this. This is a straight line and about 1/8 of an inch little raised area, so we'll have to do that routing on the panel, and then we'll be ready to glue it up. Except that I don't have quite enough space balls. I'll have to wait till I get more. But anyway, so I'm gonna cut the panel, and then do it on the router table, just like we did the frame face down, and we'll show you the finished product. Oh, I've got all the drawers have been cut. They're all the right width, and then all the different sizes. We got all 5 of them, so they're ready to route on the outside. Which maybe we can do that with the same setup for the panel, and then they would be ready to paint. So, okay, the panels are cut, and the bit that comes with this kit, see, it's curved, and it would cut a 1/4 inch tendon that would fit in that slot, just all for us in one pass. But what we're trying to match doesn't have a curve, it's straight. So this is a flat bit, see, but it doesn't have that top wing. So we'll have to cut it until the front looks good, and then we'll have to flip it over and cut a flat on there to get the 1/4 inch tendon to fit in. And since this is such a big bit, of course we're having to slow down the router because it's a big bit, but we're going to take a pass and then raise it up and then take another pass, kind of inch towards it. So we've got to do all 4 sides on both boards. So. Okay, we are pretty much done with the doors. This is what it will look like. We got the panels cut. I don't have enough space balls to actually glue them up today. This is what the panel looks like by itself. See, I had to make a little flat spot on the back so that this would fit into the slot of our, goes up this way, so that it would fit inside that slot, see, like that. Of course it would be the short way, let me like that. So we get the space balls, then we can glue this up. Now if I was going to stain this door or dye, what happens is that this is going to change width this way, right, with the humidity. So the edges that are buried in the slot might show. So I would take and stain or dye that 1/2 inch area around the edge. I don't know, the paint might be too thick. We might try to put just a little watered down white paint around that outside before we glue up, just so that if the panel shrinks, which it's going to do since it's summer right now, it's depending on how dry it is to begin with, I'll have to measure that. More than likely, if you put something together in the summer, it's the biggest it's going to be. It's humid, and then in the winter time, the heater's on, furnace is on, and it's really dry. This is going to shrink, so then you're going to have this brown show instead of the white panel. That's why we want to do that. So that's that, and I got the drawer fronts all done with their little thing. So these just need to be sanded, and then we're going to put a single knob in on these, so I'll have to mark the centers and drill a hole for that knob, and then these will be ready to paint. So I will do that before the next session, when we'll get these two doors all glued up and trimmed and sanded and ready to paint, and then we get all those painted. We work on the drawer boxes next time. Oh, just when you thought it was over, here we are back again. Hey, I got the space balls and I'm ready to glue up, and I wanted to talk briefly about the glue ups. When you're gluing something up, the glue sets pretty fast. Especially, this isn't too complicated, it's just a small door, but you have to work quickly, and you want to do, first thing you want to do is do a dry assemble. Don't use glue, but put everything together with the clamps and make sure you know what you're doing and you got the right clamps, and be ready. You're going to have 10 and 15 minutes to work, and it needs to be all done. So go to the bathroom, do whatever, get ready, and then glue it. I've got the space balls put in all the frame. I got it all laid out here in front of me. So we're going to do the glue up. Okay, we're just about done. I got the doors, I glued them last night, so I trimmed them to size and routed the edge. So now we have a decorative edge that matches the others. Put a hole in for the knob. These are going to be sitting like this, and so the knob's down low. And I want to show you the hinges that I'm going to use. I'm going to use concealed hinges. That means you can't see them. The original hinges would have gone in there like this, and you would see that barrel of the hinge. So there'd be one there and one there. And I could have used something like that before. You have to buy buy hinges that have, since we are going for a 1/2 inch overlay, you'd have to get hinges made for a 1/2 inch overlay with the full thickness. But I like these European hinges, actually very popular now. I mean, you can buy them anywhere. I like the Blum brand. It's B-L-U-M. There's a quality hinge, and these are totally adjustable. When you get it in on the panel, you can adjust the door this way. You can adjust it up and down, and you can in left and right, and actually in and out a little bit. So it's fully adjustable. When you have two doors that have to go together, you want them at the same height. See, you want them to be right there and matched, and you don't want one crooked, so you need that adjustability so that they work right. And the way you put those in is you drill a 35 millimeter hole at a set distance from the edge, and then these just snap in there, and then 2 screws, and then this part screws to the face frame with just a screw, and it's very, very easy to do. So these are all set to paint, and we'll be all done with the doors. So until next week when we do dovetails, we'll see you later.